Railriders, the Train Adventures franchise, is and always will be a big part of my life, and this here is why and how that is. So the franchise has a wide range of history actually. It was originally released and produced in 2011 when me, my mum and my dad went to South Wales for a holiday in Tenby. Originally I started filming on a small, it was a Canon of some sort, a silver one that only shot in 480p standard definition, and basically it wasn't really fantastic quality, and the editing wasn't very good. And that is why the series never actually got released online. I was planning on re-releasing the series online and revamping it and remastering it, as it were. But whether that will happen now, I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. But it's now the classic series now, Train Adventures, because it's now obviously been rebooted to Railriders. So after it was first broadcast in 2011, about 3 years down the line, in 2014, season 2 hit screens, and I started it up again. This was with me and my friend Harvey. We started filming trains on Ely platform, Ely station in Cambridgeshire, and that is where it was reborn, as it were, and it become a lot more. There was more to the series and franchise, as that was when we first started putting it on YouTube and making it go public, as it were. So the question is, why did I reboot Train Adventures, and why did Train Adventures become Railriders in 2017? Well, basically, the Train Adventures franchise and series, it started to get a little bit dry, as should we say. The audience wasn't really engaging with it as much, and I found the aspects of it in some ways were not really that fantastic. It was mostly about us going to the locations and showing the process of the adventure, how we got to these locations and what we did at those, what we did, and basically it was more of a train spotting program than anything, and it was missing the factual side of it and the whole aspect of it being a documentary, as it were. So and it started to become a little bit behind, or in fact a lot behind in the release dates. Like it was very, very behind in the years, and it just needed to be reconstructed. So that is why in 2017 I introduced a new name, Railriders, which, believe it or not, was based off of the original 1980s club Railriders, which has, funnily enough, been reintroduced this year. They have actually brought back the club this year, and it's now trademarked. But basically, before they brought it back, we got this name, so technically we should be okay with the name rights. However, what we do plan and hope to do is to hopefully see that Railriders, the actual club, will see these episodes and possibly give us permission to upload them to the official Railriders YouTube channel if they choose to make one, and that would be a really honourable opportunity, and I would really love that sort of opportunity, and it would make my day, because a lot of time and work goes into making these films, and that is what's going to bring me on to my next subject. There is a lot of time, work and effort that goes into making Railriders, and people don't realise how much work and time and effort and the financial side of making these films, because they do cost money, they do take a lot of time and effort. There was one time where we went to Crewe, and it cost us £170 each to get to the location, and then it cost us again to actually get into the museum that we was filming at, which was the Crewe Heritage Centre. So we're talking about 200 odd quid for that particular episode to be created, and that was Train Adventures Season 2, so it was part of the classic series as well, so it wasn't even part of the Railriders series. But and also we have had times where we've had to go away, and it's been more than one day of filming, and we have had to stay out to film that particular episode at a particular location, and stay out the night and the weekend to film. But with Railriders, I wanted to evolve the franchise, because Train Adventures was more, it just was missing the factual side of everything. It was missing the part about the trains, about the locations. So I put a lot more research into Railriders. I looked around and I took notes down of locomotives, railways, etc., made up scripts in order for me to read off of for the commentary of the series. And it is and has become the successor of the predecessing franchise of Train Adventures, which is now classed as classic, and it has become more than a documentary, I'd say, and because it shows things, it shows life. It shows adventure, it shows action, it shows a bit of comedic as well, to be honest. There's some funny aspects within Railriders too. It's not only about the adventure and the process of getting to these places, but it's also about the trains, it's about the locations, and it's about feeling that as an audience, when I wanted to try and create something that the audience can engage in as well as us. So basically it's more telling a story through the pictures and images that I show on screen, and it gives the audience the sense of excitement and joy. You get to see the wonders of the planet, as it were, as well, because we see so much, like so many landmarks, different locations, and the history. We get to see history come alive, as it were. And we like to show that experience. Basically it's something that I like to keep evolving. It is my life's work now. It has become something more than just a series now. It has shown my life. It's shown life in general. It's shown how people come and go, because we've had many people joining us along trips, etc., and have actually left the show and moved on with their lives, and it kind of gives that impression of, life is about moving on, and it is also about enjoying it, and that is what it kind of shows. So it's not just a documentary, it's more than that, and I feel proud about that I have evolved it in such a way. After all these 7 years of it being broadcasted, it has evolved into something more than what it was originally meant to be, and that's what I want to keep doing. I want to keep evolving it, making it better, changing things as much as I can, and introducing new content and new things, and new locations, new trains, new people, etc., new cast members. Just recently, Series 2 has finally been wrapped up, and that is Railriders Series 2 The Dark Days. and this is where I'm going to start talking about that series. It was a very, very complicated series to make. It took so long to complete, a lot longer than what it was meant to take. It was more like half a year late, something around those, even a year or so late of being released, and this was due to multiple different reasons. Because originally there was some content in there. There was a lot because my ex-partner was in there a lot, my ex-girlfriend, and we split up, and it was a really tough year in 2018, and I wanted to try and show that on series 2 of Railriders, and try and create a story, as it were, and try and bring in some sort of storyline to add something a little bit different to the franchise, as it were. So I wanted to bring in the storyline of moving forward and try and give the audience a story of, this is me, this is what I went through. I went through a really tough time and I moved forward, and this is how I did it, and this is how Sam Beeman got back on track and fought out and continued with life, even though it was one of the toughest times that he ever had. I remember it being edited. I got to a point where I edited probably half of the series, and it was getting to the point where I was starting to edit the closing off parts, and I met somebody new. You see, I met a new girlfriend who she's lovely. She's really lovely, and then I realised that I can't release this, because the thing is, there was some content in there which I didn't want released, purely because it would upset the previous person I was with, probably, and it would also upset the current person I was with, and I needed to be more respectful about what I was doing, and I needed to think fast about what I can do to change that. But the thing is, by then, the funny thing is, by then the trailers were already released live on out there to the public. So people and the public knew what they were expecting from the new series, so I had to tell the same story somehow. I had to tell that story of how bad I was and how the trains got me back on track. I had to tell that story in some way, shape or form, because the trailers were already released, and you can't just like go and change a whole story completely once the trailers have been released, otherwise that's just unrealistic. You wouldn't just have a film in the cinema or something just showing the story on the trailers sort of thing, like telling you what is to come, but then change it all completely. No, it can't work like that. So the public knew what they were expecting from Series 2, and it was already telling the story of what I was going to tell, as it were, you know, where Chelsea ended up leaving, etc. Because I find you can't, with all films, because it is more of a film series, and you can't just have characters come in and just leave and people don't know what happened to them, you know what I mean? Like, there had to be something to be done to show her exit, as it were, because she was in a few episodes in the classic series as well as the current modern series. So I had to fade her out somehow, and this is how I had to tell that story somehow. But I didn't go into in depth because that would have been bad, and I couldn't do that. So I had to go back and I had to re-edit a lot of the series, because there was about, I think it was episode 8, there was about 15 minutes cut out of that because of the content that was just stuff that just didn't really need to be released and put out there, and it wasn't good, and just to save, you know, any hassle or anything at all, I just did a more quicker exit for her, as it were, and just showed more of the fact that I was in a bad place and I wanted to move forward. So it wasn't about the split, it was about the showing how bad things got and how to move forward with it. And then it was to show that trains mean a lot to me, and that they're a big part of my life, and that they they help me with this kind of stuff. And the thing is, with depression and anxiety, you've got to always move forward, and that is what I wanted to show. So I wanted to show that I was going through a tough time, and I got back on the tracks. Yes. So I wanted to show the story of the process of how things, of how things were bad that year, because they were terrible in 2018, and how I moved on from there. And that is the story of Series 2, and it was a tough old series to make, and to be honest with you, I didn't really like making it. I wasn't keen on the series. It's not as good as Series 1, and it's certainly not going to be as good as the upcoming series, which is coming very in about mid-2020. I would say that will be released. And I look forward to that, and trust me, it is going to be action-packed. You're going to see so much in that series. It's going to be adventurous. I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to spoil the upcoming Series 3 at all, but it's going to be adventurous. It's going to be action-packed. It's going to be funny. There's going to be so much to see, so many lovely locations, a lot of wicked trains, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure that anyone is going to really enjoy watching that series. And I want Railriders to carry on giving that sense of freedom and happiness, as it were, to show not only rail enthusiasts but people who are not really interested in trains, not really interested in railways, and that they can embrace what we go through and what we enjoy about it, and maybe persuade them to give it a go and move forward and enjoy life, as it were. And that is what the series is starting to be about. That is what interpretation of what I want to give. I want to try and not only have it as a production to be aimed at rail enthusiasts, but to be aimed at normal members of the public as well. And to show a story, to tell a story from images and pictures, and to show Britain's national heritage, the history of railways, the fun and laughters that you get out of going on these trips out and seeing these wonderful things. And that is what I want to carry on producing and evolving the series as it progresses in the years of it broadcasting. So I hope you enjoyed this brief bonus feature of Series 2's ending. It's bonus feature of Series 2, but it kind of highlights every other part of Railriders and the Train Adventures franchise. And I hope it's given you a sense of how much work is involved within the franchise itself, because we spend a lot of money and time and effort to make these. There's a lot of filming involved. We use some complex editing software, which is Adobe Premiere Pro. In Series 3 especially, there has been 3 different cameras at one point in one of the episodes. So Series 3 is much bigger than the predecessing series is, and there is a lot of camera work involved within that, and there is a lot that has gone into the making of these productions. And I hope that maybe one day that these projects will be seen by people who, and hopefully get not only released on the YouTube platform, but released on higher up platforms, maybe even get onto DVD and stuff like that. That's what I'd love it to do. I'd love it to be shared about a little bit. So please do support it, share it, comment, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is honestly much appreciated. We really appreciate the appreciation and the support that you give us in making these episodes and the production itself. And we just hope that maybe one day it might become more than just a series on YouTube, and hopefully it will become a little bit more successful. So thank you for watching this in-depth look into the editing and history of Railriders in general, and thanks for watching. and stay tuned for Series 3, which shall be coming mid-2020. Thank you very much. This has been Samuel Beeman. Goodbye.